Hey there, self-care warriors. Welcome back to Self-Care Haven. Today I want to talk to you about an effect of narcissistic abuse that's often not talked about, and that is self-isolation. Now, when we talk about the abuse cycle, we're often met with the idea that an abuser can isolate us to the point of detaching from our friends and family during this time. But what we don't talk about enough is the effect of self-isolation, which is when, because we're ashamed about the abuse that we're suffering, we isolate ourselves from friends and family members. Or because the narcissist or sociopathic abuser has either turned these people against us or has created or planted these imaginary falsehoods about how people don't like us, or has implanted insecurities about our ability to socially interact with others, which they're prone to do because they're projecting their own social awkwardness, flat affect, and limited emotional range onto us. That has actually affected us to the point where we may feel like we're not able to interact with others or reach out to others or connect with others. Even though prior to the relationship we might have been social butterflies, we might have had a very active social life. So not only do narcissists isolate us in the sense that they coerce us and control us and monitor our every movement, they can also cause us to self-isolate due to the deep shame of the traumas that we're experiencing and the alienation we might feel as a result of being abused and terrorized. When we've been berated, reprimanded, and blamed for the abuse, we start to feel like we're defective, we're worthless. And we start to own some of the narcissist projections of us being unable to socially interact with others. Now, what is happening is that it's not that there's something wrong with us, because if we were very extroverted even prior to the abusive relationship and we somehow lost ourselves in the midst of trauma, it is because we are being affected by the traumatic nature of that relationship. Now, even if you're an introvert, right, you might have a lot of empathy and compassion and the ability to reach others and connect with others on a meaningful level, even if you're not as extroverted or you're not as much of a social butterfly. And I think the thing with introverts is that narcissists can convince them that they're somehow socially inept, when in fact it's narcissists who are socially inept. They may be charming and they may be able to present a false self, but that is only for a limited amount of time. Eventually their real self comes out, their mask slips. So they can maintain a facade of social control and the ability to persuade others in a social context, but that doesn't mean there's any real depth to them. There's no real sort of humanity to them. Whereas us, whether we're extroverted, introverted, or somewhere in between, we have this incredible gift of empathy and compassion and the ability to reach others and the ability to connect with others in a way that narcissistic abusers will never be capable of. So the next time you're ruminating over these false insecurities that a narcissist has planted in your head about being socially awkward or having people against you, or perhaps evidence of a smear campaign that they've launched against you, remember that it is not your fault that you were isolated. It's also not your fault if you self-isolated, because that is an effect of trauma. We begin to mistrust everyone around us when we've been traumatized. This can happen even after the abusive relationship is over due to symptoms of PTSD, complex PTSD, narcissistic abuse victim syndrome. We start to distrust everyone around us and we start to feel paranoid. And some of that paranoia may actually be intuition, whereas the rest might be hypervigilance towards any potential predators. Because once we've been traumatized even just once, it can really change our worldview. We no longer feel like everyone has our best interests at heart. We no longer go into the world as naive and gullible as we once did. And perhaps that naivete was actually a gift, because we believed in the compassion and the good intentions of others before that. But because of narcissistic abuse, even one incident can flip your worldview around, and you may not be able to trust anyone for a very long time. So, for the few friendships or the few real meaningful connections, authentic connections that you have with people who are validating, who are supportive, cherish those, be grateful for those, and be open and receptive to the idea that there may be people out there who will support you, who will validate you, and who will not mistreat you, who will not abuse you. At the same time, don't let go of your newfound knowledge about the fact that there are toxic people in this world, but don't use it as a way to self-isolate. Find validation, find support wherever you can. If it's validating support, whether it's from a professional or from a friend or a family member, cherish it, be grateful for it, expand it, and use it to nourish you. However, if you are feeling especially alone today, or if you're feeling alone overall and you feel like everyone in your life has betrayed you in some way, or you've been mistreated in numerous ways by various people throughout your lifetime, please know that you're not alone in that experience. There are other survivors out there who've experienced people the way you have, experienced the world the way you have, and even though they might not have the exact same experience, they felt that same ache, they felt that same loneliness, that same overwhelming sense of heartache of not having authentic people to reach out to. So I hope this video help you acknowledge the fact that you're not alone, even though you may feel like it, and to know that there is hope for better connections, better meaningful connections in the future, no matter where you are in this stage of your healing journey. I hope that you have a support network that you can rely on, or that you're building one as we speak. And I hope that you can share your insights about self-isolation and some of the tips and tools that you've used to break through that self-isolation. Feel free to share your experiences with self-isolation in the comment section below. And I'll talk to you guys very soon. Until then, take care. Be sure to check out my #1 Amazon best-selling book, Becoming the Narcissist Nightmare: How to Devalue and Discard the Narcissist While Supplying Yourself. Also be sure to reserve your signed copy of my newest book, Power: Surviving and Thriving After Narcissistic Abuse. The links will be provided in the description below.